The Vikings were seafaring people who originated in Scandinavia and raided and settled wide areas of Europe from the late 8th to the 11th centuries. The term Viking likely derives from the Old Norse word Vikingur, meaning pirate or raider. However, the Vikings were more than just warriors and pillagers. They were also traders, explorers, settlers, and skilled craftsmen and artisans. The Viking Age spans from around 793 AD to 1066 AD. In 793, Viking raiders attacked the monastery at Lindisfarne off the northeast coast of England, marking the beginning of the Viking raids on Christian Europe. This attack sent shockwaves throughout Europe and marked the start of 2 centuries of Viking conquests and migrations that impacted much of the continent. The Vikings came from what are now the modern-day countries of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. These northern European lands had harsh climates and scarce resources, which pushed many Vikings to seek their fortunes through raiding and exploration. Viking seafaring abilities were unmatched for their time, thanks to their sturdy, versatile longships. These shallow draft vessels enabled them to navigate Europe's river systems and attack settlements along the coast. Religion and mythology were an integral part of Viking culture. Most Vikings worshipped Norse pagan gods like Odin, Thor, and Freya. Stories of Norse gods and heroes were passed down in oral poems like the Poetic Edda and Prose Edda. The Vikings believed that valorous warriors chosen by the gods would earn a place in Valhalla, the majestic feasting hall of the afterlife. The Vikings were prolific explorers and settlers, venturing far beyond their Scandinavian homelands. They raided the British Isles and founded long-lasting Norse settlements in Iceland, Greenland, and parts of Canada's east coast. Swedish Vikings, known as the Rus, founded the first Russian states in regions around Kiev and Novgorod. Viking progeny would go on to rule Norman England and Sicily. Viking culture wasn't just about raiding and warfare. The Vikings were highly skilled traders, exchanging goods like furs, tusks, seal fat, and slaves for silver, spices, glassware, wine, and other valuables across Europe and Asia. Master craftsmen created ornate jewelry, tools, weapons, and longships with intricate carvings. Viking settlements actively engaged in agriculture, animal husbandry, fishing, and hunting. Norse myths and legends, innovative longships, far-flung exploration, and evocative burial sites. The Vikings left an indelible mark on Europe through their fierce raids, as well as their advanced seafaring technology and explorations. Their cultural and social impact resonates to this day, as modern pop culture continues its fascination with the adventurous seafarers of Scandinavia. While the Vikings were innovative explorers and settlers, they also had a dark side. Their raids and invasions unleashed shocking violence across Europe. Monasteries and villages often bore the brunt of vicious Viking pillaging. They would seize valuables like gold, silver, and jewels while killing or enslaving inhabitants. These traumatic raids spread fear across medieval Europe. The Vikings' reputation for brutality stems in part from their religious beliefs. As pagans, Vikings saw Christian monasteries and churches as prime targets overloaded with riches. They had no qualms about attacking them and killing clergy, in stark contrast to Christian morals. Violence was also exalted in Norse culture as a path to immortality in warrior heaven. Some Vikings took ritual killings and human sacrifices to extreme levels. According to Norse sagas and chronicles, they practiced grisly rituals like blood eagle executions. Victims would be laid down and their ribs severed from their spine. Their lungs would then be pulled out through the openings to form wings. The Vikings also made extensive use of slavery, capturing slaves during raids or buying and selling them in marketplaces across Europe and the East. Captured women sometimes faced rape and sexual slavery. Slaves were regularly killed in ritual Norse sacrifices. In their expeditions, Vikings encountered and brutally colonized indigenous peoples like the Inuit in Greenland. Viking contact brought disease, displacement, and cultural disintegration to once thriving communities like the Dorset culture in Arctic Canada. Modern popular culture has glamorized Vikings as intrepid adventurers and noble warriors, but growing analysis of their legacy reveals the darker side of rape, ritual killing, and indigenous displacement. Their practice of slavery also tarnishes their exploratory achievements. However, Vikings remain cultural icons, representing both positive traits like boldness and negative traits like violence. Figures like Erik the Red and Leif Erikson are remembered for their adventurous spirit, and aspects of Viking culture like longships and Norse mythology continue to inspire art, literature, and imagination today. Their complex legacy is both culturally influential and ethically ambiguous.
The icy wind stung Avaldun's eyes as he stood on the deck of his Nar, gazing out at the steel-gray sea. The ship swayed beneath his feet as it cut through the choppy waters, bound for unknown lands. His calloused hand gripped his sword hilt, ready to defend his comrades slumbering below deck. In his mind, Avaldun saw his wife Embla's anguished face as he left her embrace months ago. He remembered the glint of tears in their son Erik's bright eyes. Avaldun swallowed hard, blinking back his own tears. He would sail to the world's end and back for them. The Nar sailed on through the endless night. Avaldun remained standing tall and vigilant, guiding his ship toward adventure with his family's love warming his stoic heart. Soon he would return home laden with gifts and stories to share by the glowing hearth fire. But for now, he was exactly where the gods had called him to be, at the helm of his fateful ship, breasting the waves into destiny.